Then the gates of his heart were flung open, and his joy flew far over the sea. But as he descended the hill, a sadness came upon him, and he thought in his heart, "How shall I go in peace and without sorrow?"
Wow, quite an opening.
Isn't it? Welcome, everyone, to the Deep Dive. You're joining us today as we really get into Khalil Gibran's The Prophet.
Yeah, it's more than just knowing the words, isn't it? It's about feeling that wisdom he shared.
Exactly. Published way back in 1923.
A whole century ago, yeah. And it's still this, go-to text for people asking those big life questions.
It's structured around Al-Mustafa, the prophet, giving these, poetic sermons before he leaves Orphalese.
Right, after 12 years there. That number, 12 years in the month of reaping when he arrived, it feels significant.
Definitely sets a scene. And Gibran did his own drawings for it, too, which adds another layer.
It really does. It gives you another way into his vision.
So 12 years, that cycle ending in departure, it feels pretty central.
Mm-hmm.
For you listening, maybe think of this deep dive as your arrival point, a chance to, quickly grasp Gibran on love, marriage, kids.
Giving, work, joy, sorrow, the big ones.
Yeah. Our mission really is just to unpack why these ideas still hit home today.
And it all kicks off with Almitra, the seeress. She asks the people's questions.
And our first one is huge. Speak to us of love.
Yeah, you can't get much more fundamental than that, can you? It just resonates, always.
Okay, so love. Gibran doesn't sugarcoat it, does he?
Not at all. He hits you straight away with this duality. Even as love crowns you, so shall he crucify you.
Whoa.
Yeah. Even as he is for your growth, so is he for your pruning. It's this immediate tension.
Creation and destruction sort of happening at the same time.
Yeah.
What's that really telling us about love?
Well, I think it suggests that real growth in love often means letting things go, shedding old skin, maybe.
Okay.
He uses these farming images, right? Like sheaves of corn being threshed, sifted.
Right, ground down.
Exactly. It's like you have to strip away the non-essential to get to the real substance. And the sacred fire, he mentions, maybe that's the intense experiences, the things that purify you in love.
And lead to the sacred bread, the nourishment. So the good stuff comes through the hard stuff.
That seems to be the idea. It's not meant to be easy, necessarily.
Makes sense. It often isn't, is it? And then there's that bit about giving and receiving.
Oh, yeah. Love gives not but itself, and takes not but from itself.
Love possesses not, nor would it be possessed.
For love is sufficient unto love. That feels, I don't know, almost radical today, doesn't it? When we often think about love in terms of owning or being owned.
Totally. It points to love being its own thing, separate from us almost.
Independent, yeah. It has its own value. And then he says you can't direct love.
Right. It directs you if you're worthy.
Which again emphasizes how powerful and sort of autonomous he sees love. You align with it, you don't control it.
And those desires he lists, melting like a brook, the pain of tenderness.
Bleeding willingly and joyfully.
Yeah. Waking with a winged heart. It's not just holding hands, is it? It's intense.
It really is. It sounds like a complete surrender, emotional, spiritual pain of tenderness that suggests real vulnerability. And bleeding willingly. Maybe that means even the hurts can be embraced, seen as part of something meaningful. It's about loving with your whole self, the good and the bad.
So then Almitra asked, and what of marriage, Master? Feels like the natural next step, right? Taking that intensity into partnership.
It does, and he brings that same idea, togetherness in space, straight into marriage.
You were born together, and together you shall be forevermore. But then...
But let there be spaces in your togetherness, and let the winds of the heavens dance between you. That image, having room within the closeness, that's so crucial.
Absolutely, keeping your own self inside the forevermore. And he calls love and marriage a moving sea between the shores of your souls, not a chain.
Right, not a fixed bond. It suggests it needs to flow, to be dynamic. And he builds on that. Fill each other's cup, but drink not from one cup. Share bread, but not the same loaf.
Sing and dance together and be joyous, but let each one of you be alone. The lute strings. That's such a great image.
It really is. Same music, but each string vibrates on its own. It captures that balance perfectly.
And giving hearts. He says give them, but not into each other's keeping.
For only the hand of life can contain your hearts. Wow. It really stresses that ultimate individuality, even in deep partnership. Your core self remains your own. And then the final image there, stand together. but apart, like temple pillars.
Or the oak and the cypress grow not in each other's shadow.
Yeah, it's a powerful message that the strength isn't emerging completely, but in each partner's individual strength side by side.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. A woman asks, "Speak to us of children." And Gibran's take here is, well, it really makes you rethink parenthood.
It does. He starts right off with, your children are not your children.
Which must have been, and still is, pretty provocative.
Definitely. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. So they're not ours to own. They're expressions of life, capital L.
He says they come through you, but not from you. And even though they're with you, they belong not to you. It's humbling, really. Makes us more like custodians.
Facilitators, maybe? Yeah. He says, give them your love, sure, but not your thoughts.
Right. House their bodies, but not their souls. Because their souls live in the house of tomorrow.
Which we can't visit, he says. It really emphasizes respecting their path, their future, their inner world.
And that line, you may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you. That's a tough one for parents sometimes.
Oh, for sure. For life goes not backward nor tarries with yesterday. It's about letting them grow into their future, not our past version of it.
The bow and arrow metaphor sums it up so well, doesn't it?
Beautifully. Parents are the bows. We provide the stability, the tension.
But the kids are the living arrows.
Sent out by the archer life, God, whatever you call it. And the joy for the parent, the bow, is in that bending, that letting go for the archer's aim.
He says the archer loves the arrow and the bow.
Exactly. It values both roles in the process.
Okay, next up, a rich man asks about giving.
Yeah, and in a world that often focuses on getting and keeping, Gibran flips it.
He makes a really sharp distinction, doesn't he? Between giving stuff and giving, well, yourself.
Absolutely. You give but little when you give of your possessions. It is when you give of yourself that you truly give. That's the core of it.
And he tackles that fear of not having enough, saying fear of need is need itself.
Which is a really interesting psychological point, right? Holding on to things out of fear just reinforces the feeling of lack.
He talks about why people give, too. Some for recognition.
Which he calls unwholesome.
Yeah.
Others give everything, trusting life will provide. Some give with joy, that's their reward. And some even give with pain. Like a baptism, he says. A purification. And then there are those who give without even thinking about it, like a myrtle giving off fragrance.
Just naturally. He suggests the best giving is unasked, just coming from understanding.
And he adds that looking for someone worthy to receive can be an even bigger joy than the giving itself, which is a nice thought.
And then the practical punch. All you have shall someday be given, therefore give now.
That the season of giving may be yours and not your inheritors. Basically, don't wait. Experience the joy of generosity now.
He also lifts up the receiver, saying anyone who embraces life is worthy. It's not about being deserving in a judgmental way.
Right. He sees it as life-giving unto life, and we're just witnesses, facilitators of that flow.
And he tells receivers not to feel weighed down by gratitude, but to rise up with the giver, almost like partners in the act.
Yeah, on ether wings, he says. Very poetic.
So then an old innkeeper asks about eating and drinking. Seems kind of mundane after love and giving.
But Gibran finds the sacred in it, doesn't he? He starts with this idea like, wouldn't it be great if we could just live on air and light?
Like a plant.
Oh, yeah.
But since we can't, since we have to kill to eat or take milk.
He says, let it be an act of worship. Turn your table into an altar.
That's a powerful reframing.
It is. He talks about sacrificing the animal, the fruit, for the pure in us. It highlights this connection, this cycle.
And telling the apple its seeds will live on in us. That image of future blossoms in our hearts connects eating now to life continuing.
Yeah, it's all linked. And the vineyard and wine press idea. We're also like vineyards being gathered through life's experiences.
And the wine becomes like a memory bank.
Sorta. A song for each a cup, remembering autumn, the vineyard, the whole process. It makes drinking mindful.
Then a plowman asks about work. Another fundamental.
And Gibran really elevates it beyond just, earning a living or seeing it as a chore.
He says we work to keep pace with the earth and the soul of the earth. Like being idle makes you out of sync with life.
Exactly. And he calls the worker a flute through whose heart the whispering of the hours turns to music, making work into art.
He pushes back against work being a curse. Says it actually fulfills a purpose we're born with.
Yeah. Loving life through labor makes you intimate with life's inmost secret. And the sweat, the effort actually washes away any sense that life is just a burden.
That sequence he lays out is amazing. Life is dark without urge.
Urge is blind without knowledge.
Knowledge is vain without work.
And all work is empty without love. Boom. It all leads to love being the key ingredient.
Working with love connects you to yourself, others, God. It's profound.
And the images. Weaving with threads from your heart, building with affection, sewing tenderly, it makes work sound sacred.
And that idea that the blessed dead are standing about you and watching,
Yeah.
wow, adds a sense of history and importance to what we do.
And he stresses equality in labor, too. The wind speaks to the grass just like the oak.
So greatness isn't the job title. It's turning that life force, the wind's voice, into a song through your work with love.
Precisely. Work is love made visible. That's the takeaway. And if you can't work with love, he says it's better to just sit at the temple gate and take alms from those who do.
Harsh, but it emphasizes the point. Indifferent work makes bitter bread, loveless work muffles the ears.
Yeah, the quality comes from the love put into it.
Okay, finally, joy and sorrow. A woman asks about them. This feels like maybe the most intertwined pair.
Gibran definitely sees them that way. Right off the bat, your joy is your sorrow unmasked.
They're two sides of one coin, from the same wellspring inside us. And how else can it be, he asks. Like, it's just obvious.
He argues the deeper the sorrow carves into you, the more joy you can actually hold later.
The cup holding the wine had to be burned in the kiln.
And the lute that soothes us was hollowed out with knives. Those images really land, showing how joy and pain shape each other.
So when you're happy, look inside. You'll find the sorrow that made room for it. And when you're sad,
look again and you'll see you're weeping for what was your delight. They're always together.
He pictures us like scales. Only totally empty are we balanced.
As soon as life puts its treasures and experiences, relationships one side, joy or sorrow, has to rise or fall. They're inseparable in a lived life.
So wrapping up this deep dive into the prophet, it really strikes me how Gibran keeps showing the connections, between things we often see as opposites.
Absolutely. Love and pain, being together and being alone, giving, receiving, it's all part of one big, complex picture for him.
He doesn't want us to shy away from the tough stuff, does he? More like embrace the whole package, find the unity underneath the dualities.
Yeah, finding the sacred in the everyday, like with eating or working, and understanding that even sorrow holds potential for deeper joy later on.
So for you listening, how does this land? Can you see that sorrow unmasked in your happy moments? Or where in your own relationships is that dance happening between closeness and needing space?
Gibran isn't really giving easy answers, is he? It's more like a lens, a way to look at your own life, your own feelings, and maybe understand them a bit more deeply.
A framework for meaning.
Exactly.
Okay, so here's a final thought to maybe chew on. If joy and sorrow really are inseparable, like Gibran says, how might letting ourselves fully feel sadness actually make our capacity for joy bigger?
Ooh, that's a good one. Or thinking about work as love made visible. What's one small thing you'll do today, maybe, with just a little more intention, a little more care, because of that idea?
Lots to think about. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
Hope to see you next time.